concept of Deathworld has captured imaginations for decades, often used in science fiction to depict planets so dangerous and hostile that mere survival becomes a monumental achievement. In these fictional universes, where death is not just a possibility but a constant companion, technology has had to evolve in extraordinary ways. The evolution of Deathworld technology is not merely a chronicle of weapons and armor, but a complex journey of human ingenuity, adaptation, and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. It spans artificial intelligence, biomechanical systems, environmental manipulation, and even philosophical shifts in how life is valued. The earliest stages of Deathworld technology likely began with necessity-driven survival tools. Imagine crash-landed explorers or settlers on an alien planet where everything, from the air to the soil, wants them dead. The first innovations would focus on sealing off humans from their environment. Pressurized suits, breathing apparatuses, toxin filters, and rudimentary shelters. These were the initial tools of separation, keeping the deadly environment at bay, while the humans figured out what they were dealing with. Basic robotics and drones would follow soon after, scouting dangerous terrain, mapping out safe zones, and collecting data that no human could risk gathering firsthand. As understanding of the environment deepened, technology shifted from reactive to proactive. Instead of merely defending against the environment, humans began altering it. Terraforming, once a distant dream, became a necessity. On some death worlds, full-scale terraforming wasn't feasible, but micro-terraforming emerged, modifying small areas to create pockets of habitable land. These efforts utilized advanced nanotechnology, controlled chemical reactions, and microbial engineering. Genetically modified organisms were developed to detoxify soil, filter air, or absorb radiation. These living machines often combined organic adaptability with artificial precision, representing a fusion of biology and machinery, known as symbiotic or biomech tech. One of the most significant shifts in Deathworld technology came with the integration of artificial intelligence. On Earth or in more benign colonies, AI could serve as assistants, entertainers, or overseers. But on a death world, AI had to become partners in survival. These AIs were not programmed merely with logic, but were taught to understand fear, urgency, and improvisation. They acted as tactical advisors in combat, monitored vital signs in real time, and even made ethical decisions in life and death situations. Autonomous drones and robots became more than tools. They were co-survivors, often developing distinct personalities due to the adaptive algorithms required for hostile environments. Combat technologies on death worlds took leaps forward, often resembling nothing seen in conventional warfare. Traditional firearms or explosives could be useless against enemies that regenerated, mutated, or were immune to kinetic energy. Instead, weapon systems incorporated directed energy beams, plasma cutters, and antimatter-based explosives. Melee weapons also made a return, not in the form of swords and spears, but electrified blades, molecular destabilizers, and magnetic hammers, all designed for close encounters with creatures that could shrug off conventional attacks. Armor technology followed suit. Exoskeletons enhanced human strength and reflexes, while reactive plating changed its structure upon impact to better disperse energy or resist corrosive attacks. Perhaps more intriguing than the weapons and defenses was the psychological technology developed on death worlds. Survival wasn't just about physical defense. Mental resilience was equally vital. Neural implants were created to suppress panic, enhance decision-making speed, or even simulate a momentary pause in time for tactical evaluations. These implants could connect to shared networks, allowing team members to synchronize their thoughts during combat or emergencies. Psycho-conditioning chambers were developed, where recruits were subjected to simulated stress scenarios that trained them to remain calm in the face of abject horror. These methods blurred ethical lines, but on a death world, morality often gave way to necessity. Medicine on death worlds also evolved into something unrecognizable from traditional healthcare. Conventional medicine assumed a baseline of safety, but death worlds presented constant trauma, infection, and biohazard risks. Regenerative medicine had to operate in real time. Injectable nanobots would rush to an injury site to clot blood, disinfect, and even knit flesh back together within minutes. Entire limbs could be regrown using cellular scaffolding and hyperaccelerated growth stimulants. Some Deathworld medtech incorporated alien biology, creating hybrid solutions that combined human and native organism traits to produce antibodies or cellular repair agents. Eventually, this led to controversial projects that sought to pre-adapt humans to Deathworld environments through gene editing and biomechanical integration. Deathworlds also spurred the evolution of community-based technology. Individual survival, while important, could rarely be sustained without a collective effort. Smart habitats were constructed, structures capable of repairing themselves, adapting to environmental threats, and even moving when necessary. These living quarters had autonomous defense systems, power management, and environmental control, all run by integrated AI. Inside, resources were recycled in closed-loop systems. Waste was processed into energy or raw materials. Food was grown in aeroponic towers or synthesized in molecular printers. Communities relied on quantum communication to stay connected, avoiding the delays of light-speed transmission across hazardous terrain or planetary distances. Transportation had to adapt drastically on Deathworlds. Roads and traditional vehicles were liabilities in environments prone to geological instability, magnetic storms, or constant attacks. Hovercraft, spider-legged walkers, and modular drones became more common. Vehicles could adapt their shape, armor, and propulsion systems on the fly, optimizing for terrain or danger. Many were semi-autonomous, guided by AI, but able to take over control when human decisions were necessary. Portable teleportation units and phase shift chambers emerged in later stages, allowing for rapid retreat or tactical relocation, though these were incredibly energy-intensive and reserved for emergencies. The social and cultural implications of Deathworld technology are profound. People who grow up or survive in such environments develop a different relationship with technology. It becomes an extension of the self. The line between human and machine blurs. Cyborgs are not science fiction but standard soldiers or citizens. Even civilian clothing often includes environmental monitoring, toxin filtering, or emergency armor deployment. Social bonds deepen out of necessity, and communities are bound not just by location, but by shared trauma and survival. Over time, Deathworld technologies began influencing broader human civilization. Innovations developed under extreme conditions proved valuable in other settings. Disaster relief, military strategy, medical emergencies, and space exploration all benefited. However, these technologies also raised ethical and philosophical questions. Was it right to genetically modify humans to survive? Should AI be allowed to override human commands if it increased chances of survival? Should societies invest so much in mastering environments that may never be truly habitable? Some Deathworld settlers believed in full integration, not just adaptation. Instead of changing the world or defending against it, they changed themselves. These transhumanist communities took the leap of altering their biology and psychology so deeply that they became something new, neither fully human nor alien, but a hybrid designed for coexistence with the lethal planet. These societies often face stigma or fear from others, seen as having gone too far, yet they thrived in conditions others could not endure. The evolution of Deathworld technology also reflects a philosophical shift in humanity's relationship with nature. On Earth, there is often a dichotomy of preservation versus exploitation. On Deathworlds, this dichotomy is replaced by survival versus symbiosis. The most successful technologies are not those that conquer the environment, but those that learn from it, mimic it, or find ways to live within its deadly logic. Biomimicry becomes a core principle. Armor that mimics insect carapaces, sensors that replicate predator instincts, or machines that camouflage like native creatures. As Deathworlds became more integrated into human civilization, whether for resources, strategic location, or scientific interest, the gap between frontier technology and mainstream life narrowed. Civilian versions of military tech found their way into urban life. Children wore AI-integrated clothing. Emergency response units used real-time mapping drones inspired by Deathworld scouts. Even entertainment began simulating Deathworld scenarios, offering virtual training, thrill experiences, or psychological tests for those interested in becoming explorers or soldiers. However, with this integration came the danger of complacency. People who had never set foot on a death world began to romanticize the experience, not realizing the toll it took. Veterans spoke of hallucinations, PTSD, and the loss of empathy from prolonged exposure to survival-driven existence. The tech may have evolved to protect the body, but the mind remained vulnerable. This led to new branches of technology focused on rehabilitation and reintegration, devices that monitored mental health, simulated peaceful environments, and slowly reacclimated survivors to safer worlds. In the final arc of its evolution, Deathworld technology reached a point where it could begin to predict and prevent extinction-level threats. Planets once thought too hostile were tamed through a combination of AI management, environmental feedback systems, and human-machine hybrids. These once deadly worlds became bastions of knowledge, proving grounds for new life forms and cradles of innovation. Deathworld tech, once born of desperation, became a symbol of humanity's potential not just to endure, but to transform. Thus, the story of Deathworld technology is not merely about tools and machines. It is a story about evolution, not just of devices, but of humanity itself. It reveals our capacity to adapt, to sacrifice, to innovate, and to question our own limits. In the face of overwhelming adversity, Deathworld technology proves that survival is not merely about defense, but about understanding, integration, and transformation. From the ashes of danger rises a new kind of civilization, one that does not fear death but reshapes life.